Prime Minister Andrew Holness says unvaccinated Jamaicans may soon have to foot the actual bill for their choice as he provides more insight into what the government's move towards what he's describing as a vaccine option. He's following up on his prior announcement that a vaccine option will be coming once the country has reached 50% coverage of the population. Speaking in Southeast St. Mary, Mr. Holness warned the unvaccinated the government will inevitably transfer the cost of failing to take the vaccine. Wayne Walker tells us more.
The Prime Minister gave a bit more detail as to what his vaccine option will look like. He says those who fail to take the vaccine may have to foot the bill to prove they do not have the virus.
Somebody's going to hold you down and put a needle in your arm. That is not what it is, and there is no country in the world that has done that. What they have done is to create incentives for people to take the vaccines, or if you don't take the vaccines, then there are certain costs that are transferred to you. So if you are not vaccinated, then show us that you are not infected, and then the cost of showing is transferred to you by virtue of the exercise of your choice of not taking the vaccine. And I think that is quite legitimate to protect the public good of the economy and returning our society to normalcy.
He says currently the burden of low vaccine take-up is borne by the state and those already fully vaccinated. This burden, he believes, has to be shifted. The Prime Minister says he's very much aware that any policy from the state will be challenged in the courts. But he says the legislation, when it comes, will be in line with Jamaica's Charter of Rights and will stand up to scrutiny.
There are persons who would want to test it, and constantly it is being tested. So the government has to prepare itself for such challenges, as we do expect that there will be. And so we have to make sure we order our steps and that they are correct. I think the greater disaster would be for there to be a negative ruling against the government in this matter. So the government has to be very careful to ensure that it is in keeping with what is understood to be the boundaries of the Constitution.
Another measure that might be coming may be pairing government grants with vaccination. The government just announced the $4 billion worth of grants to assist the most vulnerable as part of its supplementary estimates. It was noted by many that these grants were not tied with vaccine requirements. Mr. Holness argues that the government is hesitant to deprive persons of the basic necessities, but this might be unavoidable in the long run.
It is something that we would have to, however, think on carefully, because we don't want to, deprive anyone, especially with the basics of food. But inevitably and eventually, the government will have to pair all its resource grants to persons, all its transfers to persons in the social safety net with them taking vaccination. So that is something, again, that you will see emerging in the future.
Wayne Walker, Nationwide News.